Off the Shelf, War of the States, Gettysburg, 1863, by Avalanche Press. So laid out here, I've got the game map. It's one standard map sheet. It is not a very popular map. And I'll just say that. I don't think it's attractive. I hope it's functional, but I will find that out. Yeah, really isn't. No, I know what I wanted to say. The worst part about this map is that it's just not evocative of the battlefield. That's the problem, and I do think that's a problem. But that aside, I do hope that it's just functional. To play, I've got lots of six-sided dice. I've got my own markers, because this game, as with all the other games in this quasi series, this game doesn't come with any markers at all, actually, whatsoever. So I've got second edition rules, large print, and only 12 pages. Got a Union player sheet, which is folds out like this, with the scenarios and movement allowances, movement modifiers, -1 if out of command, -1 if night. Okay, that rings a bell. Oh, and okay, battle victory lines. So it does look like this game. So down here we have first day, the battle, second, third day, and these different lines. So I'm assuming that victory, game victory, is determined by ground, well controlled, as indicated visually with this schematic, I guess you could say. I like that idea. I don't have any idea how that's going to play out in practice. I will see. Confederate player sheet, same idea. Yeah, same idea. And a train effects chart. Oh yeah, and a Gettysburg turn record track and ammunition track. I might want to photocopy this so I can have two separate displays, or I should say a display and a chart. But anyways, that I'm pretty sure is everything to get started off the shelf, other than the pieces. Well, I'll just leave those for now. So yeah, what more to say? Oh yeah, I have not played this game before at all, but I have tried out a little bit of the other American Civil War game in this quasi series, the Chickamauga game, and then of course I have played the ancient volumes, the Rome at War volumes, which look very, very, very similar to this. So I guess first things first, I'm going to get out the pieces. So I'm going to look at the first day scenario for each side, get out the pieces listed, and then I guess talk about the general flow of the game. Okay, so I just want to talk about basically the grand sweep of the game. Long story, I'll skip a long story. I definitely learned my lesson. These are not complicated, games. By the way, I was wrong, and I don't know how I missed this. There actually are markers, game markers, a few. There's a turn marker. Forgot about that. and there are artillery ammunition markers. So there are game markers. These are the starting forces. Here's Gettysburg. As we know, the fighting is going to start off that way. But I got out my starting forces, got Hill, leader. Talk about these over the next several minutes. Got an infantry division there, Heath's. Is it Heath or Heth? Heath. I'm gonna say it's Heath, but I know it might not be right. A couple of artillery units, and then over here, starting Union forces, got Buford's cavalry there, got Reynolds, got Wadsworth's division, Robinson's division. Yeah, some artillery. Okay. So, some of the leader, grab Buford here. No, I'll grab Reynolds here. So, here's Reynolds. He's got his identification there, name, first corps, and his values printed sideways there. 3 is his command radius, and 2 is his tactical rating, and 4 is his initiative. All right. A long infantry division there. The A diamond, it's on its A step, which is its first step. Goes down from there. It can be, there's no set number. This will all be shown in play, but basically it's going to go from A step. If it takes 1 loss, it'll flip over to its B step. The number of figures start disappearing. A number of figures start disappearing as it goes down in strength. And more importantly, the values on the lower left here are going down. So here it's 8-6. That's combat and morale. Combat is 8. And 6 is morale. All right. Basically, to go through a turn, I can't remember if this is common or not. It's probably common. Okay, a common step. I'll get all the details as we go through, but in general, you're going to go through, make sure, or determine units that are in command or out of command. Now, there are no there's no obvious way to mark units that are out of command. I'll mark them with something. If a commander is out of command, flip over to the out of command side. It says out of command there. You're tracing a number of areas from the bottom. So a division to a corps leader to an army leader. But it's basically tracing command a number of areas up through the chain of command. Next, you'll determine who goes first. Each player will roll a die. And to that roll, you'll add the commander's initiative. So probably Reynolds in this case. Well, let's just say it's Reynolds in this case. You're going to add the initiative. So again, Reynolds' initiative is on the far right there. It's a 4. So 4 plus a roll of 5 is 9. And then Hill rolls a very bad 1. Add his initiative rating of 4 for a total of 5. And the Union side would go first. In that quick example. Then you roll another die. Now, this is a good roll, if I remember correctly, because you're going to take that and you're going to subtract that roll from commander's initiative rating. Oh, okay, so you're using the same initiative rating. So you take Reynolds here again, initiative of 4, Subtract that die roll of 1. That's 3. So Reynolds is going to activate 3 formations. Yeah, if the result is 0, if you subtract. So Reynolds has an initiative of 4. If you roll a 4, 4 minus 4 is 0, you still activate 1 formation. If the difference is less than 0, then no formations are activated. So players are going to go back and forth like this. So back to Reynolds, he's going to activate 3 formations. So first, the Union player is going to choose that formation to activate and is going to move and fight with them. Yeah. When you activate a formation, its troops can move and fight in the following sequence. So your cavalry can charge. We do have a little bit of cavalry around, but this is Buford's cavalry, obviously. But still, overall, primarily infantry, artillery fight here. Artillery can bombard. Units which didn't charge or bombard can move, and infantry only can assault. Basically, when moving, so as with other games in this series, these long units have to fit and orient inside the area by its boundaries. So, example, this unit, this division could not orient that way because it goes outside both boundaries on both sides. So this unit would have to orient something like that or the reverse, one or the other. Combat, again, back to these divisions, strength and morale. So Wadsworth here has an 8 and a 6, combat strength of 8, morale of 6. You're basically going to roll that strength number of dice. There are some modifiers. You're basically hitting on a 6. In some cases, you'll hit on a 5 and a 6. That's basically it. But as I've thought about these designs, and I'm assuming it'll be true here as well, if it were just moving and shooting, rolling for 6s or 5s and 6s, it would be beyond boring. I think there are a few interesting decisions to make. A few. One is, who you activate and in what order and when you take an opportunity to activate a particular formation. And then, if I remember correctly, there are some interesting decisions to be made in retreating from combat. We'll get to that. But I do think that the basic command mechanic with alternating formations, rolling against commander's initiative, is probably pretty much where it's at. Because beyond that, when the units clash, it is buckets of dice. Which I guess I should say. I think I've said it before in earlier videos. Doesn't bother me. I guess in a game sense, the worst possible thing that could happen in this game is where you have something like, let's say two whole divisions, maybe like this. 2 whole divisions assault, let's say a significantly weaker defender. You roll a ton of dice and you don't get a single hit. That doesn't bother me because, again, I think that's one of the very, very worst circumstances that arise in these types of games. And it doesn't bother me because at this very, very zoomed, is it zoomed out? Yeah, zoomed out scale and scope, no, scale. Zoomed way out like this, 2 entire divisions against 1. This, when you roll all those dice and you get not a single hit, that tells me that you as the Army commander ordered that attack, and that attack never really took off at all. Now, you don't go down with multiple steps and detailed rolls and modifiers and rolls to determine, did this commander receive the order? Does the commander interpret the order properly? You don't have all that detail. That's all done away with. And I think that kind of the basic mechanic is the dice rolling, which again, if it were only that, it would be dreadfully boring. But again, I keep saying I think because, of course, this is thinking through how I think the game is going to play out here. Again, I do think it's just that basic, it's the command part that could be interesting. What I mean by that is when you are given, by the dice roll, when you're given an opportunity to activate 1 formation or 2 formations or 3 formations, what decisions do you make at those times? That might be interesting, and I guess I'll see.